As arguably one of the biggest Resident Evil fans I think you can find, I've legitimately played every single game that is in VR, and I've beaten every single game, which there's only a few franchises I've done that for. Zelda's one of them. Mario's up there, but not quite as much. And I'm the type of Resident Evil fan who loves a wide variety. I think Resident Evil Zero is one of the best games. That's a hot take. Everyone's like, oh man, when we get the remake, that's when people like it. I like the backtracking in that game. Resident Evil Revelations 2, one of my favorites. Resident Evil 4 has been probably my favorite since I was a kid and playing it a little too young. And I've liked where they've went in the modern iterations, because Resident Evil is no stranger to evolving. Sometimes good, sometimes mediocre. I honestly don't think it's ever reached truly dog shit outside of some of the weird spin-off stuff they've tried. But in terms of main games, even at its worst, you can have some fun with it. But Resident Evil 7 really set a new standard of horror, and I really enjoyed that game. And Village, well, sometimes the internet has turned its tune on that, I really freaking liked. But Resident Evil 9, Requiem. Listen, Leon S. fucking Kennedy is back in the game. That already had me on my knees and mouth open wide. That might be too much for you if you're new around here, but for those longtime viewers of mine, you know that's just me getting started. And there's only so many male video game characters I would gladly do that for, but Leon fucking S. Kennedy is one of them. But the thing is in a game that is borderline Resident Evil 4, at least half of it, the other half is pure Resident Evil 7, and that was my favorite part of this game. And I never thought I'd say, in a game with Leon fucking S. Kennedy, my favorite part would be Grace. But I am. But not because Leon stuff's bad. No, that was the perfect, every time I got to play as Leon, woo! Let's play Resident Evil 4. Because I'm not joking when I say, like, this is legitimately RE7 meets RE4. In Resident Evil 6, a lot of people didn't like the dual campaigns. A lot of people didn't like the combat, didn't like the stories, whatever. But I really want to highlight Grace's sections because they legitimately terrified me. And I don't get spook, like, I'll get, ooh. But there was a couple of points, especially in the first few hours of playing as Grace, where I was like, I paused for a good while for a couple times where I was like, man, I'm a little spooked to do this. I really don't want to progress further. And it's really funny because, you know, I'm already seeing online people being like, oh, I'm adding these mods, skip the intro, skip the orphanage. Fuck that. The whole game top to bottom is replayability. Like, I'm in my second playthrough now, doing some challenges, no blood harvesting, no healing, stuff like that. Trying to also do it under 4 hours. If not, I mean, I plan to beat the game probably a minimum of 5 times before I switch to another game and eventually come back to it. But Resident Evil is one of, like, the best games to replay. And there usually is a section or two that is like, if I could skip it, I would. I don't feel that way with this game. The only section, slight spoilers, is the orphanage section. But I don't find that bad. Like, the first time I did it, like, yeah, it took me longer than it should just because I was scared. Knowing how to do it, I can probably clear that in 5 minutes now. Like, and it's not boring. I think it's a really cool addition. I don't know, like, Resident Evil Village, there's a truly terrifying section that, like, I forget what it was called, that if you could avoid, I would, just because I was a little pussy. But at the end of the day, I think it's a really replayable game, whether you're doing stuff with unlimited ammo, you're going in balls deep raw again, fresh right from the get-go. I think it's just the puzzles, the way you navigate the hospital ward, which was probably my favorite section of the whole game. When you get into that mansion and you're trying to escape the mansion, and there's, like, hospital ward and different sections like those, the butcher and shit, like, all that stuff was just so well done. And I've seen some criticisms on Leon's stuff where, like, later in Leon's sections, like that, the destroyed area, which is very gray and bleak, a lot of people are like, oh, that's boring. That's fun as fuck. That's just Resident Evil 4. And I think that's what's so cool about this game is that it's like, Ari's not new to having dual protagonists or anything like that, but it is new to perfectly do this. Every time you play as Grace, someone who has no combat experience, she is terrified, she stutters, she stammers, and the only time she shows signs of pure, courageous heroism is when she's looking after a child, which makes sense, almost like a motherly nature, like, kicking in. But when you play as Leon S. fucking Kennedy, who's infected and literally is weakened, mind you, this isn't even his prime form. We better get to play as prime form Leon in RE10, because when he goes, ooh, haven't felt this good in years, I said, damn, daddy. Where were you this whole game? But he literally, it's so good. because you get that terrifying, you get that fear. And I honestly think the pacing of structuring between the two sides, where you play a good chunk of Grace and you play a little Leon, then a good chunk of Grace and then a big chunk of Leon and a little part of Grace, they balanced it well. It felt evenly distributed. And I didn't feel like I needed more Leon than I got. I felt like where I got Leon, I was fucking mowing motherfuckers down. And when I was playing as Grace, I felt like I got the appropriate amount of spook. And they never disrupted the spook. I feel like it would have been very easy to pull Grace's point away to go back to killing as Leon and feeling like, man, I really wanted to finish this part as Grace. No, like, you finish a part as Grace and then you switch. The story's fucking good. The gameplay's tight. And I mean, I think a large reason why it sold 5 million copies in a few days is because of Leon S. fucking Kennedy. But this game would have sold very well long term no matter what. You know, there's some weird whatever comments like, oh my god, Grace stutters, she didn't get badass, and like, she shouldn't have gotten badass enough. You know what's interesting? If you actually pay attention to characterization, which I know is a lot to ask for people online, by the end of the game, she is pretty confident. Now, is she parrying rockets as Leon does? No. Leon's had decades to master the art of bullshittery. Is Grace scaling a fucking building on a motorcycle by the end of this game? No. But is she a confident woman? Yeah. Now, I didn't get the bad ending. I fucking got the good ending because I knew what I was doing. But yeah, that was very satisfying. And I'm going to give a slight spoiler warning here. So you can skip if you want to. The spoiler warning in the chapters, you know where it is. The ending that I ended up getting, which was obviously release Elpis, right? Is that what it's called? Elpis? Elpis, I think. And saving everyone. It's so satisfying. Like, it's so easy for these games to go dark or, you know, not give as hopeful of an ending. And I mean, there is an ending where Leon fucking dies, and it's sad as shit. I've watched it online. I didn't get it myself. I didn't want to taint my playthrough, mind you. But to see the picture at the end on Grace's desk of the poor girl, like, when Leon puts down that child, man, I felt like I knew he was right for doing it. But when he tells her, I didn't hit any vital spots, it might be possible to save her, and then we give her the cure, and the fact that the reason she was blind to begin with was because of the disease, so the fact that you have an antidote that treats the disease means she's no longer fucking blind and she gets a happy ever after. If they fucking give me RE10 and they kill fucking Grace off like they did her mom, I swear to fuck, man. It's just such a good fucking ending, and the story top to bottom was just absolutely remarkable. I haven't talked a lot about games on the channel. I'm going to start probably talking about more games on Patreon more often, but it's got to be a real good game for me to get up here on YouTube and talk about it. And maybe two people and a monkey might care about my thoughts on Resident Evil Requiem, but listen, I speak for the internet collectively. Daddy Leon was fantastic, but Grace's sections were actually the best part of this game. And it's not a, oh my god, if only it was... I would have liked this game if it was just RE7 design focus on Grace, 100%. But the blend of these two, I was a little bitch at points in this game, and every time I got to play as Leon, it was cathartic. I was taking out my aggression on these goddamn stupid-ass zombies. Fucking love Resident Evil. Top 10, maybe even a top 5 franchise for me anymore. I think it's the most consistent ongoing franchise anymore. I mean, they're always borderline teasing that they try to make a co-op game again. It's like, man, you guys got a recipe for success here. Let's not get crazy with it. But yeah, I fucking loved it. You can let me know what you've been thinking. If you checked out Resident Evil 9, if you plan on getting it, fuck, if you've never even heard of a Resident Evil, like, Brandon, I just come for Daddy Brandon as you come for Daddy Leon. What? Anyway, thoughts down below. Drop a like, share, support, subscribe, ring that bell on Patreon. I do a bunch of full live reactions over there. And like I said, we're going to start doing more game coverage as well over there in due time. Probably you'll get a handful of these types of videos on YouTube, and then the rest will be over on Patreon. So consider supporting if you wish. Till next time, take care. Have a good one.